Yeah, now you can hear me, hopefully. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our live Q&A session for the National Intelligence Application Support Initiative. My name is Joyce Das, and I will be your facilitator for today's session. And I'm dialing in from Ngunnawal country, and therefore I begin today by acknowledging the Ngunnawal people, traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today, and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. However, I would also like to acknowledge that today we have participants coming from different countries all over Australia. I would like to extend a warm welcome to you all, to our NIAS participants, and thank you for joining us today. Today we are fortunate to have Dr. Morgan Newman with us. She is the Assistant Director of Research and Development from ONI, who will be speaking with you all and will respond to your questions. So welcome, Morgan.
Thank you.
And before we start our Q&A, I just wanted to remind ourselves of some of the housekeeping matters. So please make sure that your microphones are switched off when you are not speaking. Please use your hand raising function, maybe on the Teams, if you would like to ask a question, and we would like you to ask questions in this session. And when you are asking questions, please mention your name, university, and whether you are an applicant or a research office staff. Also, please feel free to put your questions on the chat if you do not prefer to speak. This session has been recorded and will be made available to those upon request. So this session is designed to provide you with an opportunity to ask questions you may have about the National Intelligence Postdoctoral Grants, or NIPG, and our NIAS initiative, and any other related topics. Regarding the NIPG grant, regarding the NIDG grant, which is the other grant that ONI runs, we already had a separate session, as many of you already know and probably have attended. So today's session is particularly specific to NIPG grant. So before we start taking questions, and feel free to put your questions in chat or hold it, when you have a chance to speak, I would like to invite Morgan to provide an overview of the National Intelligence Community Research Program. So Morgan, over to you.
Thanks, Joyce. Welcome everyone, and thanks for participating in the application support program, and thanks for your interest in our postdoctoral grants. So we've been running the application support program for 3 years now, and the entire research program has been running for 5 years. So we're already starting to see in the past few rounds that some of the grant awardees actually attended these sessions. So hopefully that's a good indication of somewhat success of this program, and also the reach of the program as well. So as Joyce mentioned, the National Intelligence Community Research Program is 2 grants. So we have the postdoc grants, which is what we're talking about today, and the discovery grant. So discovery grants, that's in the application phase at the moment. So those applications are closed. But the postdoc grants, they opened on Monday. And hopefully you may have had a chance to read through the guidelines. They've been available on Grant Connect for a couple of weeks now. And also the research topics. So Joyce emailed through to you all the research topics that were published on Monday. So there's 18 topics this year, and they cover all sorts of fields from HAS and STEM. So these topics have been put together or proposed by someone from one of the 10 agencies in the national intelligence community. So they're when you read them, you'll see they can be quite specific and have some quite specific research opportunities that relate to the topic or the problem. But I guess those research opportunities are just, I guess, a guide of how you could approach that topic. So I suggest to read the topic carefully and make sure you, I guess, understand what it's asking. And you can also email us at NIPG at oni.gov.au if you have any questions about the research topics at any time. So the applications close next year, so you've got a bit of time to read through the topics, prepare your application. They don't close until the 13th of February next year. Also, just like to mention that for the postdoc round, we're actually trialling a new online portal using the Smarty Grants system. So hopefully this will streamline the process for yourselves as applicants, but also for us at ONI in being able to manage the grants. So I think that's all I have to say at the moment. I'll just hand back to Joyce to get some questions going.
Yeah, thanks, Morgan. Thanks for that overview. Yeah, so start thinking about the questions that you would like to ask, and I would really encourage you to ask questions. But Morgan, because you are here today and Martin is not here today, so all the questions will go to you. But I'm interested to know more about the research topics that has been distributed. As you have already mentioned, the little bit of background of these topics. But could you please provide a bit more insights into these topics? What are the best ways, to align one's research to this topic? What advice would you like to give them, Morgan?
Yes. Yeah, so as I mentioned, I'd suggest reading through all the topics that may be relevant to your expertise. There's sort of, I guess there's probably a third of them that are more social science based, a third that are sort of more engineering based, and then another third that may be sort of biology based. So, and they all kind of overlap in the sort of AI space as well, because obviously that's very topical at the moment. So I suggest reading through all of them very carefully, picking out the one or two that may be applicable to you, and then look at those research opportunities that are down the bottom of the research topic to maybe give you an idea of how you could approach the research topic. But as I said previously, it's not limited to those research opportunities. You are welcome to address the topic in any way that you see you should, because you guys have the expertise in these areas, so you understand, I guess, where the science is at in your field, and perhaps you think that the topic should be approached in a specific way because perhaps it's what's written in the topic may have already been answered, I guess, in the literature, but we're just not aware of that. So as I mentioned, the topics are written by someone from the intelligence community, and they obviously have some kind of problem in mind that they see that needs to be addressed by basic research. So remember, these grants are for basic research. We really encourage sort of big ideas, sort of high risk, high reward type of projects. That's something that we definitely look for. We don't tend to look for something that's I guess an incremental step in the research. We like the big ideas. I think if anyone's got any more specific questions they want to ask around the topics, feel free to ask now.
Yeah, I would like to open the floor. So any questions on the research topics, any clarifications you would like to have, or even any broad questions?
Yeah, great question. Who will be the general assessors? So the person who wrote the topic definitely assesses it. Plus, we have two other people that are familiar with that area as well. So people from the national intelligence community are the assessors.
Any other questions? Yes, Mahan?
Hi, Joyce and Morgan. Thank you for organizing this. Just had a question regarding the other organizations that we can list in the application. And is it possible that the applicant, which will be me, is also part of that organization, such as like the co-founder, or is
So do
there
you
any
mean
issues with that?
you work in the organization? Is that what
As
you're
in,
asking?
for example, I have a startup, and
Yes.
the startup is kind of linked with the application. Is that
Yes.
is that possible?
Oh no, so we do encourage startups if it's applicable to your research proposal. Just has to be Australian company.
Yep. Yep.
But if you got a more specific question around this, feel free to email
Yeah.
me. But yeah, and if you want more, I should say, if you want more information about the agencies in the national intelligence community, that's available on intelligence.gov.au. There's a website that explains each agency and what they do.
Yeah. Awesome. And just another question I had, and what is roughly kind of the acceptance rate from the previous years, if you have any?
Oh, success rate. Yeah, it's sort of
Success rate.
hovered. Yeah, it sort of hovered around, I guess, 12 to 15%. So we issue 10
awesome.
grants, and I mean it just depends on the number of applications we receive. We receive anywhere between 50 to 100 applications. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Mahan. Anyone else would like to ask? You can always come back and ask a research topic related question later as well if you don't have one at this stage. But also, Morgan, I would like to ask you another question. From you mentioned that mostly the nutrition research intelligence community, they will be the one who will be assessing these applications. So what would you like to see in an NIPG application, or in other words, what are some of the key aspects that we should provide emphasis on when we are writing our NIPG application?
Yeah, great question. So I think it needs to be clearly aligned to the topic. So there is a section in your proposal that asks how does it address the research topic. Also, it's a bit of a tricky one. So I guess you want enough detail in your proposal, but you don't want it highly technical either, because they're not. There will be some people who are very, have high expertise in this area, but there also will be one person that probably doesn't have the same expertise as say you would in that area. So it needs to be very digestible for people to understand how you're going to address the topic. But yeah, having that clear alignment to the topic and how it will impact the intelligence community as well. And there are sections in the proposal that ask you to outline that.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Morgan. What you're basically saying is that the proposal should be sound, but not too technical in terms of, because the assessors may not have, that in-depth expertise in that particular space, but it should. So the proposal should actually be able to communicate to more general kind of, semi-expert, you can say. I don't know if that's the word.
Yes.
So is that what you're saying, Morgan?
Yeah. So don't assume that the person who's assessing your proposal would have a PhD in that specific area. They probably have a PhD, but maybe not, in that specific area.
Yeah, okay.
And what about in the chat?
Oh, yeah.
I'll just address those.
Yes,
is it
please.
possible to know which agency wrote the question of interest? Yes and no. We generally don't make that information available unless the agency has said that it's okay to, just due to obviously sensitivities. I should note that all of the work is unclassified though. Regarding the host supervisor, who could be host supervisor? Should the host supervisor be someone we already have establishment with him, her? Not necessarily. We just like to ensure that you have someone like a senior academic who's very experienced in the work you're proposing. That's what we like to see from a research advisor. So it doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily have to have published 10, 20 papers with them. We just want to see that advisor has the specific expertise to help you with your proposal. Hope that answers that question.
Any other questions? Well, coming back to the application, Morgan, as we were just discussing before, how much emphasis do you think, like, do you see, because it's kind of a fellowship, right? So,
Yes.
would you like to see the, what the fellow, like what the applicant is bringing into the, so how much weight that aspect of the applicant's background and expertise and how they can actually carry on the work matters.
Yeah, it's important. But it's for an EMCR, so you could be 1 year out of your PhD, or you could be 9 years out, and we don't necessarily just take the person who's 9 years from their PhD, because obviously they've worked for that long afterwards. We want to see that, that you're capable of doing the project, but we also encourage people at all stages in that EMCR, like career life, I guess, to apply. And we don't give any, bias towards a junior or a senior person in that situation.
And also you have a, option for career breaks and stuff, right? It's probably in the grant guideline.
Yes, we do. Yeah, in the grant guidelines.
So that people can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you have any queries around that, just email us if you need some clarification around that.
We have a couple of additional, I think, complementary questions.
So how much?
It's about unclassified.
Hang on. So there's one before that. How much the infrastructure available at the host university is important in assessing the application, in particular related to additive manufacturing. That's a sort of a budgeting question. There's $365,000 is allocated for the 2-year fellowship, and if the university wants to contribute in kind money, we're not against that. But I guess that's more of a question of how your university operates. We will give you $365,000 for 2 years. I'm not sure if that answers that question, but again, if you want to write something more specifically in an email, happy to answer that. Just checking about unclassified, this means we could freely discuss the work and the fact that we've been awarded a fellowship. Very good question. That differs from university to university. We encourage you to consult your security team, as in foreign interference security team at your university, about that. That's the advice that we give. That's a university issue, that whether your university is comfortable with you discussing your work and whether you've been awarded this fellowship. Just wondering if there's any CV template that we can use to address the assessment criteria. No, we don't have a CV template. I think we just asked, it's just a standard CV. We do ask for, if you look at the guidelines, we do ask for all of your publications and all of your appointments. And that's the same for the research advisor. Detailed assessors be selected from the ARC's assessors pool on the alignment. No, we don't. The postdoc assessment is different from the discovery grants that we run. We don't use ARC at all for the assessment. If you're currently an academic but you completed your PhD less than 10 years ago, can you apply? Do you mean that you've got a tenured position? I think that's what you're alluding to. Yes, but that's a tricky one, because yes, but we assume that you will be using your salary from the for the fellowship, because it is a fellowship. But as long as you're less than 10 years, there's no reason why you can't apply. And supervised investigator from DSTG on this application. No, we don't. Or again, a tricky one. We don't allow we don't allow people who are employed by a government agency to be listed on the application. So they'd have to be based at a university. I hope that answers that question. Again, sort of all these specific questions about criteria, etc. Feel free to email us because we can give a more detailed response to your specific case.
Thank you. Okay. Just picking up, Morgan, what you have mentioned about the difference between, the NIDG and NIPG, because there are differences, right? And so maybe spend a couple of minutes to talk about that, how it's different from NIDG, and in terms of process, but also in terms of research itself, and what are the uniqueness of NIPG in a way.
Yep. So I'll start with the postdocs. So the postdocs are basically a replica of a similar program in the US and in the UK. So where there's research topics that are put forward by someone from the intelligence community. So it's a very specific, targeting of there's a problem that they're in the community, and this grant is designed to address that problem. Whereas the discovery grants is more of we appreciate that there's a huge amount of expertise in the Australian research community, and you guys are at the cutting edge of technology and insights, and the government or the intelligence community doesn't know what we don't know. So we're asking academics it's similar to the ARC Discovery Grant Scheme. So it's a more collaborative effort. It's usually teams of two or three or more. We're asking you to put forward research proposals that are based on one or more of the intelligence challenges. So these challenges are published on the ARC website, and they cover everything from human behaviour to emerging biological science, emerging material sciences, cybersecurity. So those intelligence challenges are much more broad than the research topics that you see in the postdoc grants. But I would suggest to read those challenges, because that'll help you understand further about what the intelligence community is interested in. And they're not dissimilar to what's the leading emerging tech at the moment. So you've got biotech, you've got quantum, you've got AI, cybersecurity. So I really strongly encourage you to read those intelligence challenges. I can probably email them out to you after this. I'll get Joyce to email them out to all of you after this meeting. So that's the main difference. Is postdoc is very specific, tailored problems, challenges, whereas the discovery grants is more broad challenges, covering sort of a whole field, I guess. And postdocs is only a 2-year fellowship. Discovery is a 3-year larger program, and that's up to $800,000 a year, and that's a multi-team grant that's led by a professor or two, and that's administered through the ARC. Postdocs, we administer that in-house. I think there's some more questions that have come. Yeah. So if my research area is close to the topic but not exactly, is there any chance if I can get the funding? Yeah, encourage you to still write a proposal. Like I said, it may actually be, oh, wow, we didn't know that. But that's actually more going to give us more information than what we put in the topic. So, yeah, encourage you to definitely have a go. Is there any cap for the fellowship salary in the budget? No, but it's obviously a limited amount of funding. It's only $365,000, so it will just limit what you can spend on other things related to your research. Assuming this runs the next year too, is there a limit as to how many times one can apply? Nope, no limit on how many times you can apply. How important to have some initial results in the proposed project? Not very important. Like I said, we're after big ideas. As long as it's, there obviously has to be an element of feasibility to it, but you don't necessarily need to show that you can do half the project, which I know is very different to other grant schemes in the Australian research ecosystem. That's probably one way we differ quite a lot. We don't expect to see all this preliminary data, preliminary results. We don't. It's, if you have some, that's great, but we don't expect it. Sorry, I just think I missed one. Am I eligible to apply with an Australian university while currently working overseas? Will return if successful? Yes, that's fine. As long as you're eligible Australian citizen or Australian permanent resident. Can we have joint supervisor team from different universities? Yes, that's fine. We have done that in the past. You just put that into your application. How is career interruption related to maternity leave calculated? Is it based on the actual leave you took, or is it like I asked you to have a set period of time you to claim as the main carer of your children? We generally do follow the ARC policy on this, just to make it simple for us. Clarify some text in the guidelines. The program also support research in areas identified in the UK and US. Does this mean that projects addressing the linked UK and US topics are also considered? Does that mean that the AU topics are informed by those topics? Okay, so yes, so we actually do select some topics that have been proposed by someone in the US intelligence community and someone in the UK intelligence community. So they are advertised in the 18. That's what that means. So if your topic is written by someone from the UK or US, we will endeavour to link you up with that person if awarded, obviously.
We have one more.
Working on a NISDO project as a postdoc researcher with a contract ending next year, can you still apply? Yes, that's fine. Absolutely. You have until, if awarded, you have until 31st of December to start the grant.
Dilnoza, you raise your hand to ask a question.
If you can hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much for this session. I had questions, so it's easier to ask it by myself rather than putting in the chat. So I have a question on one of the topics about loyalty. I'm not sure how familiar you would be on these specific topics, but I thought I would still check. So as I started reading about the loyalty section, it talks, well, first thing it describes multicultural environment and so on, changing demographics, but then it specifically goes through the vetting process, vetting organizations and the personnel. So, and then it recommends certain ways of approaching this question. So my question is that to what extent this topic is specifically desirable by the agency who proposed it to be about the vetting process, whether it's vetting people who actually do the security clearances, because it looks like it is the case, but the topic itself is so relevant and broad to Australian community that goes beyond the vetters. Like it could be to individuals as well. This is the way how I'm interpreting it, where one as an individual, whether it's a, you know, not necessarily someone who is going through the security clearance, what loyalty they would have. Because it gives the example of somebody would still have their loyalty to where they were born, even if they're Australian citizens today. So I don't know if you would have some answers, your views on this. Thank you.
Yeah, I obviously didn't write the topic, but I know that one. What I can suggest is if perhaps you write to me in an email a few dot points, then I can speak to the person who proposed it and give you, I guess, a more well-informed answer than what I can give you now. Is that okay?
Yeah, what would be the email to? Can I have your email then? So
yeah, the NIPG at
okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem.
Thank you so much, Morgan.
Anyone else wants to ask any question? We talked about a little bit about ARC, grant, and we know that ARC grants, has some limits, how many grants you can hold, and there's that kind of things. So just Morgan, what I would like to ask, are ONI grants also related to ARC grant limit, or are they independent of that?
Yeah, they're independent. We don't have any limits yet, like the IRC do.
So
and you
what
can
if
apply.
Someone what if someone already holds another fellowship? Can they apply and get this?
Yes, they can, but they can't overlap, if that makes sense. So say you're in the second year of your fellowship, you can apply as long as you are eligible, like you're within 10 years. Yeah, that's not a problem. You just can't hold the two at the same time.
So you have to, okay.
Yeah.
So makes sense. Or you can't draw salary from both fellowships, in a way. So
one has to
double
finish before the other one starts.
Yeah.
Which I also mentioned, you can apply for, you can apply multiple times. If there's 2 research topics that you think you could write a good proposal for, go for it. You can write 2 different proposals and apply 2 different times. That's fine.
Anything else? That's it. Morgan, do you have anything to add? The email address, Morgan. I think maybe we should.
I'll just write it
put it in the chat. Thank you.
And also, this is the website I was talking about. When does the outcome of the grant expect to get released? So we will let the successful people know by in around June, and then after the embargo period is ended, then we'll do a further announcement. But you should know around June whether you are successful. And like I said, you have until the end of next year to commence the grant.
Okay, so is it possible for an NITG CI to apply for an NIPG?
Yes, I don't see why not, as long as you're eligible within 10 years. Yeah, can't see a problem with that.
Because NITG doesn't give salary, right, to the
No.
It does actually.
Yep.
Doesn't it?
Only as a top up.
As a top up, yeah.
Yep. There are fewer HAS topics. I could count 4. Is this right? Yes, probably about 4 or 5, I think. Probably. There's some that overlap with other disciplines as well that I would still consider HAS. Like I think there's a topic on cybersecurity, something other that does overlap with HAS, with social sciences.
Anyone else? This is your last chance, people.
Yeah.
Not last chance.
Should the project commence by the end of 2026? Yes, that is our request, 31st of December. Sorry, I missed a previous one. Can we apply as academic staff at a university? Yes, but you still have to, it's a fellowship, so you still have to use the salary from the grant, if that makes sense.
So you can't have 2 sources of salaries, basically.
No. Yes. Yeah. There are 18 topics, only 10 grants available. Is any preference? No preference. The only, I guess, preference is that we try and cover, in what we select to fund, we try and cover interests from all 10 agencies of the national intelligence community, but we essentially will select the highly scored grants or proposals, sorry. Any common mistakes among weaker applications in past years? Yes, there's a good one that I can mention is we are not defence. I'll just reiterate that very strongly. We are intelligence. Yes, there are overlaps with defence, but we are the intelligence community, and so tailor it towards the intelligence community, not defence. I think that's probably the biggest, I wouldn't call it a mistake, but the biggest misalignment that we see. Could we have more than one research advisor? Yes, that's fine. Just include that in your application. Would the allocated 10 grants be granted 50-50 social science and science? Not 50-50. Like I said, depends on quality of proposals and alignment to the 10 agencies of the national intelligence community. There will be, we do generally see a split across HAS and STEM though. Like it's not all hard engineering, science, and etc. How much is the time commit to the fellowship? Can we do 0.8? No. So part-time is only allowed for carers' responsibilities or for teaching that is directly related to your, research. We don't allow part-time to work on other research. That's very, very strict on that. So it can be 0.5 for carers, but for teaching, we only allow up to 70% still has to be for research, only 30% for teaching. So your part-time, the total grant can only go for 4 years. I hope that was clear, but that's all in the guidelines as well. Whether it's successful application for 2025 announced any data about distribution between topics? No, we don't do a public announcement. And no, there's no real data distribution between the topics. Like I said, we generally select for quality and alignment to the 10 agencies. If the proposed research topic covers more than one topic from the list, will that still be okay? That's fine, but as you'll see in the application itself, you have to address one research topic for that proposal. It asks you to select a research topic. But as I said before, if you want to write 2 proposals, that's absolutely fine, but there'll be 2 separate applications.
Okay. Is that it? Some great questions actually came in this session, which is good to see.
Really good questions. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think I just would like to reiterate that there's no we just pick the best quality applications. Essentially, there's no preference for any particular field at all. The best quality ones will get funded.
Okay, so what do we do, Morgan? Do we call it a day or give them back 15 minutes?
Yep. Yeah, like I said, feel free to email us with any of the questions about the specific topics or anything that's unclear from the guidelines. Have a go at Smarty Grants if you're having any problems. Smarty Grants itself has a lot of help in troubleshooting, but if it's, I guess, more program-specific issues, then email us at nipg@oni.gov.au. And thank you for attending, and please give us feedback.
So before we close, I I would like to share my screen and show you a QR code, which will take you to a feedback survey, essentially. And we would love to have your feedback. So please scan through your mobile, and very simple survey, less than 5 minutes. This will help us to, improve our future approach to this. And yes, thank you so much, everyone, for being here and show your interest. And Morgan, to you as well. And you already have an NIPG email address, so feel free to write to them. Yes, Alex Serge. Okay, you wanted to show a thumbs up. Okay, not a question. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for attending, and please feel free to fill up the survey if you can. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.